Father, Lord God, we thank you so much for this day. We thank you for keeping the storms away from us. Dear God, we thank you for the way you watch out for us and for your son who gave his life on Calvary's cross for our sins. His precious blood cleansed us of those sins, dear Lord. We just pray now, Heavenly Father, that you be with us as we go into our meeting, that you would guide us and lead us, and we'd give you all the praise and the glory. These things I pray in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I want to welcome everyone here this evening for a regular meeting of the Gibson County Board of Commissioners, Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. Welcome all. We'll start with the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make that motion.
A second. Motion made in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Approval of claims, if you would, please.
Make that motion to approve the claims.
I second that. Made in a second, and I'll read it off as $2,042,671.45. And I'll ask for your signatures on that, gentlemen.
Close out the motion.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you, sir. Treasurer report and or clerk report.
There are no reports.
Emails.
Okay. Department reports. Do we have any department heads here tonight that would like to come before us? There's our sheriff. Sheriff Bruce Vanover, welcome.
I'm right inside there, okay? I'll come in whenever we get some more rain. I gave you guys the jail report and the work release report. We have 74 males and 13 females in jail during February with a daily average of 88. Work release 23 males, 3 females, a daily average of 28. Staffing numbers right now in corrections, we have 21 positions. 16 of those are filled. We have need of 5 more jailers. We have 2 guys in the process right now. Dispatch, we have 9 positions that we are allotted. We have 6 of those filled. We need 3. Right now, I know that sounds really, really bad because we are a 24/7, 365 business. We have 4 part-time dispatchers right now and 2 additional part-timers in the process. They like the idea of dispatching, but we haven't sweetened the deal and make the jump. Just much I can do, as you guys know. Community corrections, we have 2 field officer positions open right now. 1 guy in the process. He just took his psychological evaluation. Deputies, we have 19 positions that were allotted. We have 1 open spot, and we've taken a guy to the merit board March 12th. We have 2 in the academy. They're a little over halfway through the academy. They've been there. They've got 8 weeks done, and they've got 7 weeks left. And then we have 1 guy that started March the 4th. Eric Powell did his 2nd day of field training today. So we're looking forward to great things with him. Now, in closing, I want to take this opportunity to speak with everyone about the upcoming Eclipse event, April 6th, 7th, and 8th. First of all, the Gibson County Sheriff's Office is committed to preserving the peace during this 3-day event. Ballard and I have been doing our homework, attending meetings, and we are working to finalize a plan that will address traffic issues and any calls for service that we may receive during this extended weekend. Next, I want to warn everyone that you will see a lot of police presence during this event. And that is because we want our citizens and those who visit our county to know that we are a safe and welcoming place to come to experience this once in a lifetime event. So here's what we've done. On February 28th, we held a command staff meeting at the sheriff's office, and we had 15 different individuals from our sheriff's office in attendance. There were representatives from dispatch, the jail, our road sergeants, community corrections, school resource officers from East Gibson and South Gibson. Our IT guy was there, and even a deputy showed up just because he wanted to sit in the meeting. Why, I don't know why, but hey, he was there. And he had a great time, so. We met to discuss scheduling for this weekend and reiterated that during these days, these 3 days, it'll be an all hands on deck situation. We're not gonna grant we're not gonna grant vacation or, days off during those 3 days. With the schools being closed, we'll have our school resource officers on the road helping with coverage for the event. And as a result, we'll have a deputy, most likely multiple ones in 9 of our 10 townships. Don't be offended if you're from Wabash Township, but there's not much down there except for oil rigs and fields. But if the Crawley Bill Crawl happens during the 3-day event, we will absolutely have somebody down there. Because when Crawley Bill Crawl happens, population zooms in Wabash County. Now, further, we'll have major intersections covered after the event to ensure that traffic moves safely and effectively. My intention to lead on my road sergeants. I told them that they're gonna be sheriffs of their township. So, they'll pay attention to call volume and call audibles when call volume warrants and where circumstances warrant. Moving forward, Chief Ballard and I plan to meet this week with local police chiefs and town marshals to see what their plans are for the event and to share what ours is. Together, we'll have a great plan of attack and it'll be awesome. Later in March, I will have a meeting with my deputies, special deputies, and school resource officers where we'll roll out the final plan that we've been working on. So while I have an audience with the great commissioners, I want to address the elephant in the room that all the department heads have been talking about. Will the courthouse be closed on Monday, April 8th? And if it is closed, will it be considered a holiday? That's what I got. Is there any questions or any comments?
Well, thank you.
So will the courthouse be open? That's the question.
I think, we've kind of put our position out there for everyone to, sort of hammer out, but, our position hasn't changed. But, Nick, have you heard anything from the council otherwise, or?
No, Jason said it.
Oh, okay.
Talk to Jason.
So courthouse will be closed on that day. The council, I think their position was at one point that if the employees were receiving that day as a day off, then maybe we should explore taking another day from them that they otherwise would receive off. That was the last activity I heard out of the council, so.
Not to be that guy, but I know that the sheriff's office and emergency services, we're gonna be out there regardless. So please remember us.
We're gonna address that next council meeting too, if we need to. But
And I'll probably be sharing the same thing I just read, and I'll be asking the same question to them, so don't feel like I put them on the spot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything, I gave you guys a report for February. If you have any questions, I've let.
We appreciate that.
I'll go to represent your extension. So just to kind of wrap up, we're coming out of the winter season and entering the spring season. So over the winter, the extension office was very busy, as it usually is over the winter time. And speaking on behalf of myself as the A&R program, as the A&R educator, I held 6 workshops, 6 career workshops for farmers, and had over 350 attendees over those 6 workshops held at Gibson Southern High School. So those were astoundingly well. On that same vein, this coming week, we have a homesteading conference. It's going to be hosted down in Newburgh. It's an area-wide Southwest Indiana effort. So we're going to try and address some of those, the trend of homesteading and the population that is looking for information there. So always looking to meet those needs. From the health and human sciences aspect, Angie, our HHS educator, held a Matter of Balance, which is a fall prevention class. She's looking to hold more of those coming up soon. She's also working in the 3rd grade classes of the county doing Captain Cash, which is a financial literacy program for 3rd graders. The 2 of us working together are hosting a beginner's guide to grant writing workshop that's coming up in April. So we've got several from the county registered for that, and we're excited about that. On the 4-H side, we did have a resignation from our 4-H educator, so we will have a vacancy there, and we're looking to fill that hopefully before the fair. But right now, our 4-H enrollment stands at 440 kids enrolled, And we will be hosting, the show will go on. Our office will be covering all of the needs that are presented in the 4-H world. So I'll be doing upcoming livestock care trainings for all of our 4-H youth. And then the fair will be July 7th through 13th. Okay. Just a note from just a note, kind of a message to farmers on the note of the eclipse is that, the eclipse is going to be happening right in the middle of planting season. So things are going to get fired up just as the eclipse is happening. And so with the influx of traffic, I just want to make farmers aware of the influx of traffic that we are expecting in the county and just encourage everyone to stay out of the fields and off the roads on the day of the eclipse and the days leading up to and afterwards. It's going to be one of my big things. I'm going to try and touch base with all the farmers in the county, but want to make sure everybody is aware to keep all the equipment off the roads and clear of any.
Thank you. That's very good advice for our farming community. Be careful because like you said, there will be an influx of traffic and folks coming from all around the region potentially. So be aware. And Abby, I appreciate all that you're doing there. I know you worked tirelessly this winter getting out and helping the public, educating the public on a whole variety of different topics that are ag related and consumer related. And in this case, also homesteading's coming up. So thank you for all the hard work you've done. You've been a real gem in that position and we appreciate it. Appreciate it. Anyone else from the departments? If not, go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Khan.
Came in from the back. Okay. It's at the end of the month report for February of 2024. As far as the runs that we had in Gibson County for the month was 475. That was broke down by as for 911 calls, we had 366 911 calls, and we had 59 hospital transfers. We billed a total of $279,744, and we collected $132,434.94. As you can see, I gave you guys that paper. It has kind of the pie graph on it, kind of give you the idea of where our run volume is coming from per district. Needless to say, Princeton is the highest. It's most populated, which includes all of Princeton and anything north of Princeton pretty much. So anyway, want to go over that. The other thing I was going to tell you, we've been working on plans for the solar eclipse, just like everybody else has. And we're going to try to put on, as long as everything works out okay, we're going to try to put on, if we can, 4 additional trucks for the day of the eclipse, because I have a feeling we're going to have a hard time. We're going to try to spread them out throughout the county. So if we have an issue like, in the northern part of the county or the southern part of the county, we've got a little bit better coverage out of it. That's our plans now. Hell, everything, plans are great until you have to put them in place, but right now that's what we're planning. And have any questions?
Any questions, gentlemen?
Nope.
I would appreciate the visual and just to give the public an idea of some of the rankings here, it looks like, as you had mentioned, Princeton received the most calls, followed up by South Gibson. And then there's a little bit differentiation in the way this is grouped. Oakland City. Well, actually, it's Princeton, Oakland City, South Gibson, and then Owensville has its own little piece of the pie there too. So.
If you take Owensville and South Gibson as a whole, they have just a few more runs than what the East Gibson area did. Now, this is not, just so everybody understands, this is not the amount of runs each individual ambulance made. It's just like in Princeton, the Princeton run volume being 272 of those runs. The thing is, that's the district that the runs came in, but several times an ambulance had to come to Fort Branch or Oakland City or whatever. So this is broke down by district, not by per unit. So,
Sure.
No way our Princeton units could make this amount.
Right.
And cover all because they're gone so much. So this is per district. So per district, Princeton has the highest volume in Oakland City, then Fort Branch.
Well, I think, and something we're going to be addressing later on in the meeting, this kind of strengthens my position on how I feel about taking care of our Patoka Township citizens and neighbors and family members up here. So you can see that this area needs good ambulance service. And not only that, but they need, the opportunity to do some things beyond just the service itself, but training and a variety of, I think, key factors that will make this ambulance station critical to our county.
Thing, I mean, we tried to plan for the future with this so that we can cover not only what's going on today, but what's going on actually years from now, 10 years from now. So we're trying to make sure that we're covering all the bases, making sure that we can cover what will be coming in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions?
Anything else? Thank you. Any other department heads? Update on the jail, George Ballard. George, welcome.
Basically, the roof of the jail pod is completely all down. They're going to install air handlers tomorrow on the jail pod. Siding on the jail pod itself will be put up about 2 weeks. And because of that, we're going to probably have to move our transparent camera that people can watch and see what's going on. You're not gonna have a lot to look at when you put the siding on. So kind of kick around some ideas about where to place that camera so people can still see what's happening, construction going along. The cells are gonna be delivered in about 2 weeks. And so,
Deal.
yeah, it's been long, we're doing a lot of stuff. Right. Slow down.
Good.
Things get done pretty quick. Anybody got any questions? That's about.
Well, you.
It's looking good,
You've come a
though.
long way, George. You've come a long way on this project.
It's been over a year. Matter of fact, we had a construction meeting today that was our 30th one that we've had. It's just, it started back in October of 22.
Well, there's great progress out there and I appreciate all your supervision on this project and, just keep looking forward to more improvements.
Yeah, it's sped up quite a bit. We got a lot going on. All right.
Thank you, sir.
Good work.
Update on animal services building, Sharon? Welcome.
Rex Stotsdale with me this evening. If you have any technical questions, I will defer. Okay, so, since we don't do monthly reports, I'll give you a quick rundown of our yearly stats. We had 531 animals taken in by the animal shelter last year. Most of those were strays and pickups. So it was mostly animal control. There were some owner turn-ins, but mostly they were strays, which means that there were less animals out there roaming around, causing trouble, getting hit by cars. So it was, I think, good for the community and also good for the animals that were taken in. And again, we didn't euthanize one animal from space last year. But unfortunately, our sick and injured population was a little higher than normal. We had, as always, cats come in almost always sick. They get put into a separate room, but same ventilation system, it spreads through the shelter. So there's a lot of cats that unfortunately don't make it to the adoption process. And then unfortunately, we had a hoarding incident last year. And one of the dogs brought in, we figured out later, had parvo. So the puppies that dog had all died. And then there were several other sick dogs, but the shelter staff did a fantastic job, shut the shelter down for the weekend. Literally bleached and bleached and bleached from top to bottom, inside and out. And so there weren't any other animals affected, which was pretty phenomenal. The current population out there, we have 16 kennels. We have 22 dogs with only 16 kennels. And right now we have 51 cats and we don't have 51 cages. And even if we had 51 cages, we don't have space for 51 cages. So they're doubled, tripled, quadrupled up. So that kind of leads into, and you've supported us with the new shelter, why we desperately need a new shelter for the space, but also to have quarantine areas and visitor areas and things like that. So where we're at on the new shelter right now is, thank you for the 800,000 you contributed to us for the ARPA money. We're working with UPS Architect. They've got the final plans. We've had those for quite a while. We've done some tweaks. We've asked for some additional things, and they've given us some updates. Originally, they told us we would be ready for bidding the first phase in March. I'm not sure it will exactly do that. They were looking at a two-phase project, the shell of the building. And then as we get more money, we'll finish up, other things. So we intend on having ground broken at some point. That's what all of us on the board are working extremely hard to do. We've got some various things out there in the works, and unfortunately, till you hear back on the funding thing, it'll probably be more like mid-year. And the architect is strongly recommending us breaking ground until we've got funding sources. As everybody knows, the two-phase project's gonna be more expensive than one, so we're hoping to do it as close to one phase as we can. So along those lines, and I've sent Mr. Spindler a copy of this, but we have a document from the architects that they're needing the commissioners to sign. It's a more detailed document than what Commissioner Fleetwood you signed last year in June to get us started. And the pricing is all the same, it's just more of a wordy legalese kind of a document. So, like I said, I had sent that to Jason and for him to look at and see if it's okay. If it is, then right now that's almost. So they can proceed to contact various entities to ask for bidding.
And I have reviewed the contract and approved it. It's a AIA form contract that we'll be entering into on the prosecutor's office and on the EMS location. So it's a standard, pretty much a standard contract. I'm good with it and would recommend that the commissioners approve it at this evening's meeting.
I'll entertain a motion to approve and sign.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I'll get with you after the meeting, and I think it only takes.
Fine, or if you'd like for me to sign it now, I'll gladly sign it for you.
So, what we're actually waiting on right now, thankfully, it's taken many, many months, but thankfully, our soil sampling has been approved by the state for a septic system to be put in. So where we're at now is we've hired an engineering firm to draw up the designs for the septic system. That then has to go back to the state and be approved, and that will probably also be a hold and wait process. But we'll continue to explore various funding sources. All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
North Annex Prosecutor's Office.
If you don't mind coming to the podium in case they have questions. This is Mark Bottomley with 3i. He's the architect on this project. We've also got the county prosecutor, Mike Cochran, and his chief deputy, Abigail Cox. Mark has worked with the two of them in the commissioners. As everybody's aware, we opened bids on this project at the second meeting in February. The low base bid was Empire at $563,460. There were 6 alternates, and even if you add in all of those alternates, Empire is still the low bid. There was some healthy competition. We had 4 bids submitted from contractors, and Mark has had an opportunity to review all of the bid documents. I've looked at them. Is in compliance with what was called of the contractors in submitting the bids at this time. And Mark, do you have any comments you'd like to make? These came in lower than you expected, is that correct? substantially lower than you expected, as I understand it, about $100 a square foot. And
I just did the math, it's like 108.
so,
I'd like to hear that.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear that.
you two have anything you want to add?
No, we're just, we need to get, we would ask for you to approve it and get started on it. If it's, rather this site, it's we're gonna get us moving.
Appreciate it. And on behalf of the commissioners, I want to thank you for working closely with us and not being over the top. You've been very practical and offered ideas instead of, sort of doubling down. You've offered ideas and looked at all these projects with us. For those that may not know, Mr. Cochran, he went with us to actually look at different projects and look at buildings, and it was a team effort. A lot of people involved in this project, and it's finally coming to fruition. It's been an issue for some time in the county, and we're finally addressing it and have a decent solution. That's probably a reduction from a new project. You might be able to specify, but we're probably saving the county about 4 or 5 times the amount you would end up spending on a new project. And probably in the end, I think you could argue that we'll have a better building. So I'm excited about this. I'm hoping it'll be a great fit for you guys because you've worked really hard on it, as well as my fellow commissioners here. So thank you. Thank you. And your office.
Work with us too.
You waited long enough. You've waited long enough. I'll entertain a motion to accept the lowest bid.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. New business, moving date for the commissioners.
Just, last
Pick it
item.
up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead there. EMS building bids.
So like the prosecutors renovations, there is some healthy competition for this project as well. We've got 9 contractors that have submitted bid packets. Are there any other contractors here tonight that have not yet submitted a bid packet? The first one I'm opening or have opened is from Jerry Agner Construction out of Boonville. Form 96 bid amount is $1,850,850. I'll repeat that, $1,850,850.
It's old, it's been around.
Thinking new bids.
Yeah.
What we're looking for is we asked all of the contractors to give us the deadline that they would impose upon themselves to complete the project. And we're not seeing that in that bid packet, but we'll continue to look for it as we find them as well. The second one that we have opened is from Danco Construction out of Evansville. Form 96 bid amount is I don't see it written on Form 96, but it is included in here at the front of the packet, so I'm gonna read that number into the record, which is $1,730,000. Again, that's $1,730,000. Oh, yeah. And they project that it would take them 244 calendar days to complete the project. Okay. Try to keep these organized a little bit. Third one is from Empire out of Evansville. Form 96, bid amount is $1,911,460. $1,911,460. Looks like they did not provide the deadline for completion. Next one we have opened is Garmong Construction out of Evansville.
Terre Haute, Wilson.
What?
It's Terre Haute on here.
Oh, that's probably their headquarters. They've got a location in Evansville as well.
Okay.
Form 96 bid amount, $1,821,000. $1,821,000. And I don't believe they provided a completion date either. Jake Overstein Construction out of Princeton. Form 96 bid amount, $1,463,552.33. That is $1,463,552.33. No completion date listed on that one as well, so we'll have to get in touch with the contractors, it looks like. This next one is from Ritzert out of Evansville. They indicate that it will take them approximately 10 months. Yes, and then the Form 96 bid amount is $14,500, excuse me, $2,014,500.
Repeat that name again.
Yes, Ritzert, RITZERT. Looks like Ritzert Co. So company. This next one is from Super Construction out of Ferdinand. Form 96 bid amount is $1,644,000. $1,644,000. I'm not seeing their completion date. So here.
Yeah.
This will not be on your bid tabulation sheets, this contractor, but it is Sheffer Construction and Development. And I'm not sure where they're out of Evansville. Jeff or Matt Schaefer. Bid amount. On Form 96. $1,535,916. $1,535,916. And completion time 210 days. Okay. This one is Schaefer Construction. Out of Patoka. Form 96, bid amount, $1,585,131.52. $1,585,131.52. 10 months for completion time. So I would recommend that the commissioners take the bids under advisement, and Mr. Donovan would make that recommendation as well, as I talked with him earlier today. Do I have a motion to that effect, or need a
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, all of you that bid, we appreciate it. All right, moving date for the commissioners, unless, you guys need to finish things up down there. You okay down there, Mr. Spindler?
I'm sorry.
No, by all means, if you need to finish something, go ahead.
No, we're good.
I'm just thinking of moving date, but that's probably gonna depend upon, whenever they're gonna start work here on this building.
Yeah,
We have been talking to 3I, trying to get that design
Okay,
over there at ours too. Going as soon as possible.
sounds real good.
I get on the same page.
So, we'll see here. I mean, we still gotta take care of the business on all this tonight. And then after that, we'll probably start to be able to put a pencil to it and get some dates and.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Mark-
coming.
Mark, do you know approximately when Empire would start?
Everybody just left.
And that's fine if you don't.
That's fine. If you would, just reach out to them, Mark, and
Well,
and give us some, maybe even a rough idea. And, then we'll start planning appropriately. We'll start getting ready for the big move. And, there's gonna be a lot going on in the county as we move the commissioner's office over to the Clarion Building and do renovations. It's gonna be an exciting time, but it's also gonna be a little bit of finagling too, right? It's gonna be a
Yeah,
little bit of balance.
I'll reach out to him.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Request ARPA grant funding for all county township territory fire departments. First responder training is what we're talking about here. Is that right, Mr. Pond?
Yes, what it is a lot of the fire departments, well, even like the sheriff's department and stuff, I haven't talked with them, but it costs quite a bit of money just to have first responder training. But it looks like it's usually about, give or take, depending on who you talk to, around $400 per class. And a lot of these departments, there's several of them that don't have money in their budgets for this training. And what it really comes down to is a lot of times the members themselves have to come up with it. So not only are they volunteering, but they're also having to put, a good amount of money into themselves just to get, trained for this. So anyway, basically what I'm asking is to see if there's any ARPA money left that could be used for something like this to help fund, because right now, like on the EMS side of it, we depend on so much on the fire departments. Get there, usually before we do. they are able to stabilize the patient or help out. And it's just, it makes it, you know, anybody that I know like Darlene and some of them has dealt with this on, you know, firsthand, and there's probably several others in here that has dealt with it firsthand and see what kind of a difference, you know, first responders can make getting there early, preventing things from getting worse until we can get there. And then they also assist us not only on the scene, but a lot of times they'll assist us in the back of the ambulance and, you know, help us out of way. So it's, something I'd like to see us look at. You know, my hope is, you know, we're trying to build this new building, and one of the big things was we're gonna have an area for training. And what I'd like to do down the road is also have it to where we have more people that's, what they call primary instructors in our service, so that we can maybe provide the service itself to the fire departments and to the sheriff's department and stuff like that, to the local police departments, so that we can, you know, actively start helping the community that way. We've just never had a decent area to do this, and this is kind of what we're kind of wanting to do as time goes, but it's just getting there, all the pieces in place to be able to do this.
It makes sense, and I know for a fact that this could be used as a potential recruiting tool if we were able to cover some of these. And I know about every one of our fire territories, our townships is looking for volunteers. I know places here in Princeton are actively seeking out candidates too. And if there's anything we can do as a group of commissioners to help out our local fire protection, I think we should do it. I'm 100% behind supporting our fire protection, and probably ought to get a motion though from my fellow commissioners here to move forward and take it to ARPA.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made.
I do have a question on that, when people ask me about ARPA. I mean, does that come through us, or they go straight to ARPA and present something, present their topic, wherever they're wanting? But this is the first time I'm hearing of this, so I'm just wondering, what is the proper procedure on that?
The proper
on that.
procedure typically is to know how much you're asking. I mean, you always want to start with, you know, a quote or something is what I've witnessed or observed. And, you want to itemize it as much as possible, spell out your cost or your expenses. And then you have to go before the ARPA committee, and you're kind of talking to one of the members here. I'm a pretty active member of the ARPA. And for those that are in attendance tonight and may not know, ARPA is the American Recovery dollars that we've had, and we've used a lot of those dollars for humanitarian type purposes, with the exception of our, if you will, our animal shelter, and that's been one exception, but the majority of those funds are the $6+ million, 6.53 if you want to be exact, have been used for humanitarian and county related purposes to prevent us from having to, if you will, add additional taxpayer expense to some of these projects. Some of these projects have been needed for many, many years. The long and short of it is, Nick, you would want to put together your, like in the case of your ditch project you were talking about earlier this evening during the drainage meeting, you'd want to put together an estimate from a contractor, take it into the ARPA committee, but there is one other channel. Debbie Bennett Steersman is sort of our go-to on that. She's our grant coordinator. And I would send a copy to her ahead of time so she can make sure it's put on the agenda. And then, but if you're there also before the ARPA committee as a sort of a representative, if you will, or sponsor, I think that goes a long way from what I've seen. I think the ARPA committee members encourage that. Our next meeting is April 4th, I believe. I believe it's April 4th, and I can get you times.
If you come to it, I can, you know.
Oh, that'd be great if you could make it.
Yeah, and explain this to them too. It's kind of one of those things that, you know, I know one department in general is basically trying to get started. So there have been a lot of needs, or they're in need of a lot of help. And we've got several other departments that's small. You know, I know it's been brought up here about some of the departments not responding very well. And this is maybe a start to try to get some things done to try to help these departments out. So.
I fully support that. I fully support that. I just want to make sure, do we even need to make a motion for this? I mean, it's, because does it even, I'm just asking for future, you know.
I
do they
think
mean
we
it's something-
should, just so that he can say the commissioner supported it and, they know that we are on board with it too. So that's what I'm thinking, but
Okay,
we
that's
got a
fine.
motion made.
I'll second it.
We got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
The ARPA meeting schedule, posted so that the public knows they're public. Done.
They're generally posted on site here and then they're sent to the paper. The paper, can choose to publish it or not publish it. We just give them the mandatory notice. So I guess I haven't checked, but I'm guessing they usually.
It's been running for a month.
Yeah.
I frequently see them in the Princeton Clarion newspaper. That's where I'm seeing.
But the place that they're required. Here.
Yeah.
And then to notify.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I add something real quick? We got money from, that you guys signed in to take from the state for injury and trauma prevention. We can help partnership with people, and I've tried to talk this to EMS. We can help the fire station, we can help. Let's try to go that avenue first before we. I can help. Health department, you can help.
Thank you. Mrs. Shade, are you suggesting that you can provide the grants? $400 grants, or
It's not great.
how would you get, could you explain how you would get them their training?
Trauma and injury prevention. I can work with the state to see how we can do these things. Even the other stuff that you guys have spent ARPA money on, not to drag this out and have.
Are you suggesting you can get the $400 grants,
Not grants,
that our fire departments are
not
needing?
grants.
Okay, thank you.
So it's not grants.
pay for it.
I can help pay for these things with this money in partnership with the health department's trying to help the community.
How much money do you have for these grants?
They're not grants. Let's not say grants.
Could you elaborate on how you would get these services that our fire department so desperately need? Could you just elaborate on how you would do that?
Told David that before, even with the classes for the EM.
I'm not, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to make sure. Are you saying you can fund first responders?
We can help with injury and trauma prevention. Let me look into it and talk to the state. I've tried to talk to them before to try to help, to work as a community and save money and help do other things.
Right. Well, we appreciate those efforts. Can you use those funds to, pay for first responder training?
Can help with injury and trauma prevention. Let me talk to them and see.
Is that different? I mean, I really don't know. I'm not trying, I hope I'm not coming off as threatening here. I really don't.
See,
It-
nobody ever talks to anybody in their community.
Is it the same, or will you look into that and let me know?
I talked to Michelle and I told her with EMS that
Sure.
we can help. Do you say you have an EMT that wants to become a paramedic? If there's something we can free money up for them and help with the fire stations, EMS, we are all public health. We all should be working together. I have money to partnership and do these things.
So what you're saying, and please correct me if my deduction is wrong here in any way, shape or form. But what you're saying is there is a possibility that you could provide some funding in addition to the ARPA funds. Maybe not fund all
Not in
all
addition.
10 townships, all 10 townships?
We can fund it, we can work with them, we can partnership, because that's what the state wants us to do with the HMI money that you guys signed up to get, the partnership with other entities in the community to outreach to the community and do these.
How soon would you be able to know if your funds can be used for this? Well, let me know via email and fellow commissioners.
And I tried to talk to them before, when you have EMTs that want to become paramedics, that's another thing that I can help with. I mean, I'm more than willing. to
This is great. This is great.
You mentioned it before, but it kind of goes on deaf ears. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I know, and a lot of things get said, and things taken out of context. But at the end of the day, we're all here to work for the betterment of the county. And if you can find any money out there for first responders, please let us know, because we could use that to offset if you,
We are first responders. I mean,
that would allow us to offset some of the requests from ARPA. And so I anxiously look forward to your email and
To the state tomorrow.
greatly appreciate it. Now, please let them know that as you know, we're contractually bound by the ARPA funds. That stuff has to be committed by December of 24. But any help you can give us on it, I'll be the first to tell you, and I'm sure they will too, that we would greatly appreciate it. And the fire departments would appreciate it.
So let's talk to them, they can do stuff too. So.
See what's happening. This is what I see well, I'll keep it brief. But from my perspective is, and I wanted to do something, I know, and I think my other fellow commissioners are on board here too. We've wanted to do something to help out fire protection. And this is a start. You coming before us tonight and mentioning you're willing to partner is great news. So we like hearing what we're hearing from EMS. As commissioners, we like hearing what we're hearing from you. And this is what we call coming together and collaborating to help some of our communities. So when it's helping Gibson County and it's bringing funding, I think most of us are going to be for it.
And we want a partnership with people in the county, EMS and fire station, whatever we can do. So.
Sure.
And I'll have to talk to the state tomorrow and see what we can.
Well, I sure hope you can do some good. I think it really would help us if we'll take all the help we can get when it comes to helping fire protection. So,
All of us.
all right, that's right. They're going to help us when we need some serious help.
But me as a taxpayer.
As a person. A quick little aside, and then I'll zip it completely, but so we built a log home when I was a kid, 18, 19 years old, and we built it out of yellow poplar. I'll be brief, gentlemen. They're like, okay, here's a Fleetwood story, but this is the God's honest truth. And we had the local sawmill sew up they were sawed all of our logs and did all the work. And they were 12 by 12 logs. The nails were this long. Long story short, we built that thing by hand. My brothers, my dad and I all combined to work on it. Well, it wasn't but a few years after that we knew just how important the fire department was. Yes, we had a terrible fire and it made the front page of our local newspaper because it was it was a 3-story log home that we'd built all by hand, put our blood, sweat and tears in it. Many a night we straddled those logs. We get home from school, straddle those logs and use sledgehammers to slam the nails in and build this thing. But I'll tell you what, you realize right away when you have a house fire, just how important your fire protection is. It doesn't take long for you to realize that those guys save lives. And Mrs. Shade, I hope, by goodness, I hope that you can come up with some funding and appreciate you suggesting that. So, thank you. Yeah. That story could have been longer, by the way, folks. That was the abbreviated version. Oh, geez. All right, enough said there. And it looks like we're moving right along here. Resolution opposing the center point rate increases, Mr. Spindler.
This may merit reading the entire resolution into the record if you'd like to do that. I've got a few copies still up here if anybody wants one. Am I okay reading it all into the record? It's 2 pages.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, you've been provided a copy of this more or less several days ago. So it's entitled "A Resolution of the Gibson County Commissioners Opposing the Verified Petition of Southern Indiana Gas and Electric Company, DBA Centerpoint Energy Indiana South, CEI South, hereinafter for rate changes before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission." And that's cause number 45990 before the commission. The substance, or not substance, but the introductory paragraphs read as follows. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana recognize the cost Gibson County residents pay for electricity and natural gas. Whereas CEI South has filed a petition with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission that would raise monthly electric rates for a typical residential customer by about $10 in late 2024, nearly $6 in early 2025, and by more than $12 in early 2026. Whereas one major factor affecting businesses and residents when deciding on location or expansion is utility cost. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana seeks to foster growth and development by providing the most competitive business and regulatory climate in order to reduce cost and expenses on its citizens and businesses. Whereas excessive and burdensome utility costs could threaten the growth and expansion of Gibson County by adding burdens and impediments to new residents looking to relocate to Gibson County, hinders business expansion by adding uncompetitive rates on local business, and might deter new business from locating in Gibson County. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana has heard from its constituents and businesses opposing the requested rate increases. Whereas CEI South rates and taxes already rank the highest in the state since 2008 and among the highest in the region. And this increase will only further the disparity between utility rates in Gibson County and other nearby regions that might be competing for the same residents and businesses. Whereas the average customer will see their monthly electric bill increase of $47.24, which is 30.7% by 2026, while 22% of CEI South customers who are electric heating customers who will see their average monthly bill increase by $63.33 by 2026. Whereas CEI South also requests a 114% increase of the monthly fixed charge of $23.20 before you even use any electricity, disproportionately impacting low and fixed income households, such as seniors, people with disabilities, homes with children, and other vulnerable populations, while penalizing households that conserve energy and make their homes more efficient. Whereas CEI South and their predecessors spent over $500 million in pollution control equipment for aging coal-fired power plants, but then retired one before recovering those costs, leading to this filing requesting the taxpayers or the ratepayers of Gibson County to cover CEI South's business decisions while still ensuing a profit. Getting close. Whereas CenterPoint has had the highest authorized return on equity or profit margin for its shareholders for many years. In this case, CenterPoint Electric is proposing to keep its 10.40% return on equity. In contrast, Indiana's other four investor-owned electric utilities have an authorized return on equity below 10%. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana respectfully requests the Indiana General Assembly to waive sales tax on utility payments to provide some relief for its citizens and businesses. Just as food is exempt from sales tax, so should sales tax on utilities, as they are also fundamental to sustain human life. Now, substance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana hereby oppose CEI South's request as proposed.
Look,
And I understand that all three
Yeah.
commissioners went to the forum at
Yes.
the old National, was it at the old National Event Center?
Yes.
National Event Center in Evansville, we all attended, we all went down there and represented our constituents. When I spoke there with the Vanderburgh County Commissioners, and we were all on the same page, so it was good to see some of our area elected officials in support of the people and keeping the rates as they are. The three factors that I brought up, and they were covered here in this resolution, are industry, residents, and agriculture. And if we are put on an unfair playing field by an increase in rates, then that makes it really challenging for us to compete with neighboring counties that do not have this effect, and also neighboring states that aren't being imposed upon by a hike rate. So my position was and continues to be that we as Gibson County industry, residents, and agriculture want to be on a level playing field. And by creating this resolution, adopting it tonight, we can sound that message as well as reach out to the OUCC. You hear a lot about the IURC, but the OUCC, as I put out there, for folks that have asked me about it, will be the determining group. They will be the ones that either voted up or down. And they have denied increases before, so I'm optimistic, but I'm also very much so preparing and asking all of you to assist not only your commissioners, but your neighbors and family. You can still reach out tonight, but I believe today or tonight, I should say at midnight, is the deadline to the OUCC. There may be some other avenues. But should you want that email address after tonight's meeting, I have it. We've been working to communicate and represent Gibson County to the OUCC. Gentlemen, I will entertain a motion to adopt this resolution.
Make that motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And doing so, we have united with area counties, Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, all politics aside. This is an effort to represent the people, our constituents, and folks that are on fixed incomes, the elderly, the young, and everything in between.
Thank you, guys.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure. It's the right thing to do.
One room that I've never seen so full.
It was packed in there.
36 days.
It was packed down there. Mr. Fehrenbach.
I suggest that, through this resolution that you, send a copy of it to our state representative to address the.
Oh, it'll go there.
Yeah, for sure. Along with Governor Holcomb and several others too. Our state representative, as you mentioned. Agreed. Okay. We appreciate that. And Spectrum Fiber upgrade proposal, Dan Parrish.
Follow, gentlemen. Can be relatively low key. As you're aware, we have a communications requirement that has evolved from the sheriff's department to support the body camera uploads. The new system that they are using exists in the cloud, and quite simply, they are overburdening the existing circuit. When we started looking into this, we came across an adjacent problem to it, directly related to the construction of the new jail. Spectrum has inherited our built-in some construction costs, nearly $7,000 in order for them to relocate the fiber for their existing circuit. On top of that, with the shuffle of buildings and personnel across downtown Princeton here, including the impending move of yours to the Clarion building, we now have increased demand that is going to be put onto the courthouse. Add to that the prosecutor's relocation. We have a significant increase in demand, and we are operating at the same rates we've been operating at since 2017. It is well past time that we address this. So in working with Spectrum, I put together a proposal. Actually, they put it together. I presented it to you through email. I hope that you've each had an opportunity to read through that. What I am proposing today is first and foremost to increase the courthouse transmission rate from the current 100 megabit to 500 megabits to allow for that demand and to allow us to shift communication from the North Annex to the courthouse during that construction phase. And I will come back to that in a moment. The second piece is to do a 12-month agreement with Spectrum to increase the sheriff's department communication rate to a full gigabyte or gigabit, excuse me, to try to facilitate the communication necessary for these body camera uploads. Right now, I believe the estimate that I was provided by Chris is roughly 30+ minutes to upload a single video file.
On a good day.
On a good day, yeah, and it obviously that is not a good use of the deputy's time. Once we've had a chance to see this with a 12-month agreement, we can adjust from there if necessary. But I believe doing a 10-fold increase should give us a significant improvement. The reason for the 12-month As I mentioned, there is a roughly $6,300 to $7,000 construction fee. If we enter a second agreement at the tail end of that 12-month agreement, for 36 months, similar to what we are proposing with the courthouse, Spectrum will waive that construction cost altogether. So that is the reason for differing contract agreements that were sent to you for review. 12-month for the initial, for the sheriff's, 36 months to keep the cost down to a reasonable level for the courthouse. That is the long and short of it. The original agreement as done will obviously need to be redone. I have no authority to transact business on behalf of the county. So I will, assuming your approval, I will need to get that redone. Commissioner Fleetwood, I believe I should have your name put on that. That's the first ask, if we can address that first, and then I've got a couple of additional minor items.
Sure. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 I will have that to you hopefully as early as tomorrow, certainly no later than midweek.
Appreciate it.
With these changes in the various building construction projects going on, whether it's a remodel or new construction, we have a demand in terms of local area network. As you're aware, we have a private fiber network between our downtown buildings. Well, we are now adding an additional building. The additional building, of course, is where you are going to be housed. It will not have a high demand to date. However, you will be relocating the need for public meetings, broadcast, so those demands do not go away. I would like to propose that we look at a project to bore fiber from perhaps the courthouse over to the was it 107 South Hart, I believe is the address for the new building. It is a short hop, and that would allow us to not have to go wireless from the top of the courthouse over to that building, which should give us a significant improvement and remove any lightning related issues. Then the bigger ask to consider is the new EMS infrastructure that's going to be put out by the fairgrounds. We have a similar case there. We can feed that wirelessly from the courthouse over to that building. But again, we have the same issues there that we will have at the highway department. One that, as you know, I've stood before you and I've begged to consider as a project to also try to find funding somewhere down the road to bore fiber to the new EMS building. And of course, the last ask is to once again give some consideration to finding alternatives for the highway department and get us off of the wireless bridge, which is 100% susceptible to lightning strikes, which has taken us down multiple times over the last several years. So that's the long and short of it. I'm begging for money, but there is one additional piece which hopefully will make a little bit of this easier. With the increased cost that you just authorized for the courthouse and for the sheriff's department, I cannot think of a reason to renew or continue the circuit that exists here in the north end. With the fiber that exists between the clinics and the courthouse and the sheriff's department, there's simply no need for a third internet circuit. So we should be able to remove that circuit and remove those costs, which will absolutely offset the increased costs for the new circuits.
Very good.
That's good.
Very good.
Any questions?
Well, you've mentioned some great alternatives, especially for the EMS station. What is probably the most cost efficient alternative out there if we
Hands down, the most.
stay status quo, I'll say?
Without a doubt, the most cost effective is putting in a wireless bridge, but it is also the most susceptible.
Most susceptible to lightning strikes.
There's
Right.
no question, we can put a wireless bridge in for.
Right. I know. You're talking to a guy that drives a Malibu. I don't have a Cadillac. I mean, it's just, blame me for it, but my thinking is, you're exactly right. With your suggestions, and we'll definitely take it under advisement. Is that fair to do right now?
Of
Just,
course, I'm not asking for an answer on this, I'm just trying
Sure.
to propose the ideas, and if the commissioners are open to it, I am absolutely willing to explore alternatives as well as the costs.
appreciate
I
it.
got a couple of questions. Dan, whenever we took board to get the fiber to the probation building.
Yeah.
Did we cross the state highway or did we do that on
We
state?
did
Street?
laterally straight on the backside. Wait, you're talking from the courthouse over, no, we did have to cross Main Street, or in that case.
That was, at least to me, it was surprisingly cheaper than the boring part of it was surprisingly cheaper than what I would have expected.
The permitting process is hands down the most difficult part of this, and that's part of the reason I stand before you today. The permitting process takes an inordinate amount of time, and getting on a construction schedule to get fiberboard also takes time. In general, I heard estimates of 7 to 8 months put out for construction for the new EMS building. At a minimum, construction takes about 6 months for fiber, and typically longer. So these projects absolutely need consideration, and we can't flip a switch 6 weeks before occupancy to provide communications. We absolutely need as much advance notice as we can obtain. Which, again, I want to circle back to your impending move. Depending on when you occupy 107 South Hart and your next commissioner meeting, we definitely have to have communications in that building, or you cannot broadcast your meeting publicly. It creates some problems. Now, that may be a gift to some people, it may not be to others. We clearly need to be in the loop on that, so that we can make sure that we're take care of it. On that one, we will definitely go wireless, given the short.
Okay,
But long term, we absolutely want to get that underground.
that's fair. That's fair. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. 205 South Main Street, Patoka, parcel 26 04 25 102 000.460 What a mouthful. Mr. Spindler, can you bring us up to speed on this one? I understand Patoka, the town of Patoka is wanting to pick up this property and take it from being dilapidated to something that's a little more presentable. Is that?
Yeah,
That's
that's
fair.
correct. I think it was a fire loss. It's currently deeded in the name of Your First Choice LLC out of Cheyenne, Wyoming. It went up for tax sale. There was nobody that placed a bid on it at tax sale, so it reverts back to the commissioners. And we've done this before for Princeton, Oakland City, probably other communities. Patoka, town of Patoka is just asking that we transfer this property to them. 205 South Main Street.
We'll entertain a motion to transfer.
Make that motion.
A second.
Motion made in a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. I've seen the property. We don't want it.
Yeah,
Excuse me, Commissioner, may I circle back on one quick point on that?
sure.
I had asked one of my techs to attempt to gain line of sight, which is necessary for that wireless bridge to the EMS property. And unless there is a radio tower installed at that location, we cannot gain line of sight. There are too many objects in the way. So we would probably need to factor in the cost of a radio tower if there is in fact not already planned for that building. It's either that or we start talking about fiber sooner rather than later.
Appreciate you mentioning that.
Power up, but it was just more like a TV, it's
A typical TV type tower is about 40 feet.
yeah, is that good enough? How tall you can talk?
We probably need to go closer to 80, similar to what we have at the highway department.
It's
You're
all,
exactly right, because it creates an issue with guy wires and everything else. So we clearly need to have a broader conversation, but in order for
does it all have to be bored, or can you take some of it overhead?
that is not a question I can answer thoroughly. That's going to require an engineer and somebody intimately familiar with that. But I will get an answer.
Either way, we're gonna have to do some easement acquisitions if we go that way.
We were planning on putting a radio antenna on that, so we could communicate. Will that cause any interference or problems with anything like that?
It was a question that I posed, and I need to speak with a communications engineer to confirm. I was concerned about RF impacting the frequency that is used for the wireless network. The short answer is quite likely. But technology has evolved. The beam itself has been narrowed significantly. It is possible that we may not have that as an issue. We would also have to obviously take into consideration the tower that exists over here for, was it Frontier? There are some issues in the way. I simply do not know how much of an issue will be.
Appreciate you pointing that out, though.
Yeah.
No, without problems, we don't have solutions, right, Dan?
Oh, we always have solutions.
Right.
We don't believe.
Thank you. Medical leave, any medical leave? Public comments, we have a few folks that have wanted to be on the agenda for public comments, so we've added that part there. It looks like we've got Randy Hall, 400 East and 450 East to 64. Randy, if you would, just state your name and what town you come from.
Live between Princeton and Francisco. You want to know my address? It's 4473 East 200 North.
I just like to know the town, so we know where you come from.
Princeton's address.
Sure, nice area out there.
Center Township. Well, anyway, we had an accident out there on 64 the other day. And it was a bad one. Bruce probably knows more about it than I do. And I don't know anything about it, but 400 is a dangerous road. 400 East is very dangerous right there coming out on 64. There's only one house on that whole road. Roy's got some farm ground over there. But anyway, and I'm thinking maybe, I don't know, maybe a sign. But I still think we need to use tip money when it comes in. And maybe make 450 wider, because you're only talking about 1 mile, just go all the way up to 250, that's 1 mile. And then make it a little wider and make it a little better, because my wife always has to go, so we gotta go around the railroad track, the railroads, that.
Sure, I've
So,
dealt with that a lot.
and if we could get a hold of the lady that owns that house in there, and if Roy would, maybe we can close it right there at that railroad track from the house, on the railroad track, on the south side of the railroad track, the north side, and just put it like a dead end, just for that house to come out on that road, out on 64, and that's it, and it's because they block that too, the trains do. So then they can, and I just think maybe we could do that, because I just don't want to see someone getting killed. And, I've been in conversation, but I think if we get the tip money, we can chip and seal that, and then maybe Toyota traffic will stay off that road more, and they'll go on that other road, so they'll be gravel. And,
It is a bad spot. Oh, yeah, it's always been a bad
but
spot.
would it affect you? If they put a barricade right there on the north side of that railroad track right
It
there?
doesn't bother me, because it is a bad spot. Whenever you try to pull out of there, you gotta kind of stomp it. The only thing I suggested was getting hold of NDOT, maybe they could put, some kind of sign for
Well,
hidden drive or.
yeah, that's like I said, though, they can't even read the yellow post signs, let alone,
All right.
most of them don't read,
Do you think start with a sign, Randy? Is that what you're suggesting? And then,
Maybe, yeah, I don't know the answer, but just like I was asking.
Vicky Page still lives there, don't she?
Page lives. I know it's just-
not gonna do nothing.
No.
Still can't see through that. No.
And so the only thing I suggest, maybe we close it off right there at the railroad track, on the north side of that railroad track right there. And then she wants to come out and she can come out that way, because they'll block that every once in a while where you can't get across there. And plus then it'll be
Every
messing
once
with
in a
the
while?
railroad company, because they can't. Then it'll mess with the railroad company, because then they're gonna be parked on that side, and then they're gonna have to go all the way down to 550 or 450.
okay.
All right, Randy, we're gonna
Cut
you down.
cutting you down, but feel free to email us or reach out to us or even talk to us after the meeting.
But that's just you guys' deal, because it's your road, Kenny's road out there.
Yep.
I just thought.
Appreciate
maybe
it.
We just close it on the north side, whatever we need to do, but I think we need to do something.
Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Roy. In that same area, I know county, it's state highway and it's not
maybe you could get a hold of the state.
Start
Yeah.
time.
Right through there, there's dead ash trees hanging out like this, it's gonna fall right
Yeah.
on
Oh,
the
yeah.
highway
Mhm.
there and High Chapel, they're both. There's no doubt they're gonna fall. Just when and who's under it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just,
We can get some crews out there to take a look at here as soon as.
State, that's all on state.
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
They'll work with us.
But, you know, it's a no.
I think they do it before they do that repaving in Fort Christie.
Yeah. I called the state on, some areas out there on 168 and then also north of Princeton here a while back. So, yeah, we can definitely make a call to them.
There's no doubt what's gonna happen. Be like me, can see that.
And you wanna check on that?
I can do that.
Okay, and if you'll check on it, and if you need any help, let me know, but, good idea. Okay, Bridge of Honor and LST 794, Mark Fehrenbacher. Mark, just state your name and what town you come from.
Mark Fehrenbacher, 801 East Locust Street, Fourth Branch. I've got a few items, one, a couple of them concerning the LST 794 and the Bridge of Honor. And just a few points for talking is talked this over with George Pickersville, which is one of your first questions you always ask, and he's okay with one of fixes proposed. And second, I intend these items I'm going to mention at no cost to the county, labor and material we don't use. Okay.
Okay.
Mark?
Okay. If you commissioners remember last year, I came to you about a joint proclamation concerning the USS Gibson County, which is LST 794, which is in service to the country from 1944 to 1958. It was named for Gibson County, Indiana, and Gibson County, Tennessee. And I mentioned last year about a joint proclamation between the two counties to honor the ship. And well, I went to Tennessee, make my pitch, and they seemed too interested. So let's go to Plan B. What I would like to do with the county's permission, I'd like to fly the 48 star US flag, which was the flag is when the LST was in service over the Princeton County Courthouse on July 1st, which is a Monday of this year, which happens to be the date 1955, when the LST 794 was formally named USS Gibson. And would be to fly the flag 10 minutes from the courthouse, and then bring it down, and then have you commissioners present a flag certificate to go along with that flag. And basically, what I had planned was, and you can change the verbiage or whatever way you want to, but we, Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana, do hereby certify that this 48 star US flag was proudly flown over the Gibson County, Indiana courthouse at Princeton, Indiana on 1 July 2024 in honor of the USS Gibson County, LST 794, a US Navy landing ship tank named for our county, and to acknowledge and honor the officers and crew that served on her while serving our nation from 1944 to 1958. So basically, the flag, and I've already got a shadow box. And basically, I would like to have the flag, the shadow box, and your commissioner's certificate, and help and donate that to the Princeton Library, where we're already building a little exhibit to the ship. Basically, on this, permission from the commissioners to fly the flag and issue a certificate.
While we're all contemplating what you just said there, so I had a great uncle Wayne, who actually didn't make it back from World War II. And then I had one Warren, who's my namesake, my great uncle Warren, and he was on, I remember Dad telling the story, the sinking Saratoga. Are you familiar with the Saratoga, or do you remember that from history at all? Or, I mean, I'm just curious if you've heard of the Saratoga before.
Yeah.
But his job was, and I'll leave you with this and call for a vote, but his job was, I always tell people this because I'm not only proud of it from my family perspective, but from an American veteran, American citizen perspective too. His job was when they would torpedo the side of the ship, and you know how those ships have multiple layers to them? His job was to take a crew of men down into that vessel, down into the bottom of it and weld it up. And I always said to Dad, when I was a kid, I was like, Dad, what would have happened if they hadn't made it back? And, we all know the rest of the story, right? We know it had to be done, and somebody had to go down there and do that, but that was his job, welding, and I suppose welding underwater at times. And, making her float. They had to keep her floating. And I just thought, that speaks to our greatest generation of all time, right? I love what you're doing here with the veterans and honoring our country, and you got a good heart for that. So I'll commend you for that. And doggone it, you're a little persistent too, aren't you? A little persistent. I like that
He
too.
spoke real good down there to the thing of
Yes.
point too.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Well, it's one of those, like the saying goes, if history we tend to repeat it.
Yes, sir.
And, the greatest generation, they're dying out, and how many people knew that we had a ship named for us?
Got to remember those folks.
Mhm.
Okay, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion to allow Mark to get the flag certified. Now, can we do that? Are we clear that we can do it, or do we still need to think about a table just for that reason to double check, or? Okay, if we can get it up there and fly it and get your certification like you want, is that understandable?
Yeah.
I believe we're all fired up and behind you, but let's make sure we can get that all figured out. Work with George, work with George on that.
Work with George on it?
I would say work with George. I mean,
He said he already talked to him, but.
okay. So, we can table it to make sure we can get it all worked out, or
Let's get that done.
is that
first.
okay?
Yeah.
We'll table it, make sure we get all the details worked out, and then get back with you, or you can call Judy or call one of us. And,
We've got time.
is that understandable? Maybe I'll give us some nice weather too, to where you can have a ceremony out there.
Well, I mean,
Just a thought, just a thought. There are a lot of veterans that would support you.
We're okay on that, next item?
Yes, sir. So I'll entertain a motion to table it.
Okay, motion.
Have final approval.
Second.
Okay, and in George. Motion, second made here. Mr. Spindler, anything else? Okay, I'm sorry.
After the motion or after the vote?
Okay, well, all in favor signify by saying aye then.
Aye.
Thank you. And you have a second item? Is his time up? Can you meet me after this meeting and I'll hear you out? Let's do that. Your time is up and I want to be respectful of everybody here, but
Well,
I'm gonna stop you there and talk to you in a minute. That's all I can say.
thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anything else from the public? Come on up. You have 3 minutes
Patty.
and, happy to see you.
It won't take 3 minutes. I just want to remind everybody that our political forum, legislative forum was on March 16th. We did this in collaboration with the County Farm Bureau, and it will be at the Knights of Columbus. If you are a candidate or if you're an elected official and would like to speak, you have to be on the agenda, so please RSVP to me. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Patty. Anyone else?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Are you guys gonna have a clerk that works for like that new building?
You know-
Not have one that's certified.
Oh, sure, sure.
qualified. We didn't have one of the fairgrounds, and insulation fell out, sprinkler system busted, and we've had a hell of a mess.
He's asking if we'll have a certain.
Clerk of the works.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that would be a very good idea. Thank you.
Good idea.
Birdhouse, but you need to qualify.
Did you eventually get one out there, or did you do the whole project without one? To eventually get a clerk of the works out at the fairgrounds for that, or do the whole project without it?
They hard to, ration outfit to come in and redo it, but they get rid of a mess. It's expensive, believe it.
I'm gonna say yes to that. After hearing you talk about it, you've got a good idea.
Need a qualified.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.